Well, hello everyone. I wanted to do a video for you about light. I've received so many questions from people about how much light their orchids need. I have a lot of new people here on my channel. Welcome to my channel. I also have a lot of beginners, and I always try to help them out by giving them some basic videos, but really, we all have to kind of have a brush up course on certain things. And I think that today, while it's sunny, before the snow comes, that this is going to be a really good day for me to do a video on light. So let me show you what I have to tell you today. Okay, so I've had several people ask me, where is the best place for my miniature Phalaenopsis orchids? Okay, this is where I grow most of my mini Phalaenopsis orchids, in eastern facing windows. A western facing window would also be okay. They take a little bit more light than a regular size Phalaenopsis. I wished I'd known that a long time ago, because I thought that they were small and delicate and cute and that the sun might burn them. No, that's just really not true. If you don't give these some morning sunlight or some dispersed afternoon sunlight, they don't grow. They don't do well at all. So I give them more light than I do my regular Phalaenopsis. Okay, let me show you where my regular Phalaenopsis orchids are growing right now. And here's one of my best grow windows for my regular size Phalaenopsis orchids. It is an eastern facing window on the front of my house. It doesn't get quite as much light as the one that I showed you in the sunroom, because the sunroom has so many windows in it. So this is a very good window, and they do really well here. How you know if you have an eastern facing window is if you get morning sunlight. The morning sunlight that doesn't get too hot. Phals absolutely love morning sunlight. When they don't get enough light, they won't bloom. That's the thing. So a lot of people think that low light is for Phalaenopsis orchids. And I really disagree with that. They need some sunlight, either some morning sunlight or some dispersed afternoon light. And let me show you which windows those are here in my house. Okay, these are my western windows in my sunroom. Now these are fine for wintertime, but probably in about 4 weeks, about the time that the middle of February hits, I'm going to need to scoot these back, because these windows, the sun will be coming through them stronger. So let me show you how I scoot them back in the springtime. I will push them back along this wall, which the sunlight isn't as strong up against this wall. This is more of a northern exposure, but it also gets some western sunlight. So I will push them back more along these windows back here. And this is a really good example of afternoon or western exposure dispersed light. Do you see how they're not in the full sun? That is what I'm talking about. In the spring and summer, this is the type of situation you want if you're growing in western facing windows. Now let me show you why you want your orchids to have enough light. Of course you need that for them to rebloom for you, okay? But also the leaves on Phalaenopsis orchids especially, they get longer, they get stronger as the plant grows. Do you see how these are some of the first leaves back here that this plant grew? And they're much shorter than this leaf. This leaf is bigger than this leaf back here. And then this leaf here is bigger than this one. So that's the kind of growth pattern that you want to see with your Phalaenopsis orchids. And for my Dendrobium Phalenopsis orchids, same thing pretty much as the Phalaenopsis. They like these western windows here, and they also like the western facing windows. Now in the springtime, I like to put them more in eastern facing windows because with some of mine, the western light in the spring and the summer might be a little bit too much for them. But what you're wanting to see with your dendrobium orchids is the same type of growth pattern. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so when I got this dendrobium a few years ago, it had this cane, okay, and then this one. Then a year later, this one grew, and as you see, it's at least as big as the previous year, which that's okay. Okay, but look at this latest growth, and it has this beautiful spike that's getting ready to bloom. So do you see how when they're receiving enough light and enough fertilizer, but we're talking about light in this specific video, when they're receiving enough light, they're going to grow larger and larger each year. That's what you're looking for those new growths to be larger. If your orchid isn't blooming, then usually light is the culprit. So keep that in mind. And here's another favorite window of mine to grow in, and this is a western facing window. It's mid-afternoon and you can see that this is pretty much full on sun right now. And I can place my Cattleya in this window. This is where it lives. This is its favorite place. It really requires a western facing window to bloom really well. And I've placed some of my dendrobiums in this window because they've grown so much this past year, they won't all fit in the sunroom. What an awesome problem to have. I don't think that's a problem. I think that's just called a happy occurrence. So they seem to do really well in this western window for right now, but in the spring and summer, I'm going to need to move them to an eastern facing window where they're going to be a little bit happier. But they really like to get some sun in the winter. So western facing windows in the winter for me really work well. And here are my Vandas. My Vandas bloom very well, and I have these in the western facing windows, and this is where I have them year round. They require a lot of sun. If you don't give them enough sun, they will not bloom. They require a lot of sun. They require a lot of fertilizer. Let me show you the huge spike that one of my Vandas has. It's amazing. And this spike is on my Robert's Delight Garnet Beauty. It is 2 feet long. Yes, so you know that your Vandas are happy when they spike, and they spike big time. This is going to be an awesome bloom cycle on this Vanda. And as most of you know, I love to keep some here in my kitchen. This is an awesome place for my blooming orchids. They do really well in here. These are western facing windows, but you can see how the light is dispersed. They still receive plenty of sunlight, but they do really well in these western facing windows. So it is the end of January right now, and I hope that gives you some ideas about where you can locate your orchids during the cold winter months so that they get some sunlight that they really need, so they'll have a beautiful bloom cycle for you. And then in the spring, I'll be having to make some adjustments, and I'll show you how I do that as well. So you all be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed. And we'll talk to you all next time.